Hi
Okay.
everyone, we'll be beginning in a few seconds, so you can all join in till then. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
How are you, Yarav?
I'm fine. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good as well. How's the weather there?
Well, it's a bit cold, honestly, in Israel, which
Yeah,
doesn't happen that much, but sometimes, yeah, we have kind of a winter, but I guess it's okay. Not too much. Yeah.
yeah,
So that's fine. In
yeah. The
India,
winter
it's
is here.
hot right now.
Excuse me?
At your place, it's hot right now.
No, no, yeah, summers are approaching for sure.
Hmm.
Hi,
Okay,
Shubham. Hi,
nice.
Randa. Hi. I hope there's no internet issues for the audience here. Hi, everyone. We'll start by 5-3, so you can all drop in your highs here. Okay. Yara, I think you're ready with the presentation, right? So, could you please
Yes.
share your
Should I
screen?
start?
Yeah, you can share your screen. We'll start prepping for it.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay. I will present. Let me see. Share screen. Um, okay. Is my screen shared right now? Can you see it?
Yeah, yeah, I'll just add it to the stream as well. Right, yeah, your screen is being shared now. Hi,
Okay.
everyone.
And can hi everyone.
Okay, so we have a good amount of audience now. I think we can begin. Hi, everyone.
Okay.
All
Okay,
right,
great.
so
So yeah. Please go
I'll
ahead, Shagu.
Sure. Okay. So, hello and good evening, everyone. We are so excited to have you all here with us for the next hour. My name is Shagun, and I will be your host for the second episode of Career Guarantee Talks UIUX edition. This is a series where we'll talk about various industries with industry experts such as Yara and really take a deep dive into what that particular industry entail. We're talking about various aspects like the various job roles, salary trends, the skills, tools, and so much more. So I hope that you all enjoy. Our industry expert for this session is Mr. Yariv Ben. He's a highly experienced and accomplished professional in the field of UI UX design with over 13 years of industry experience. He's currently a mentor, lecturer, and instructor at Netcraft. He was also a co founder and product designer at MarketStream and has worked as a UI UX designer at Mayor Group. We're really excited to have you here with us, Yariv.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much, Hagun. And so yeah, I've been in the industry even I can say safely more than 13 years, and I've worked in various companies. Working also now as an individual with various companies on complex works, kind of like okay, some let's say complex systems and hardcore UX UI. So yeah, I'm there all the way. And
Right.
so I will presenting a bit and talking about the UXUI world as we go. So basically, we're going to talk about what is UXUI in general. We're going to have a short demonstration to show you how actually a UXUI designer looks at the screen and what he can learn from it, and highlight some interesting points on it. Skills that you will be needing in the industry and that you will acquire during the course and after, tools you'll be using, and industry scope, some misconceptions, true or false, and so on. UX UI design course, and of course we'll have time for questions, which you can after freely ask, or even during, if you have some kind of like let's say a very urgent question that you want to ask, you can definitely do that. So feel free. That's okay. Um, so what is actually UX UI or UI UX? Each one says that a bit different. So a UX UI actually is a process of designing a product. Of course, we are talking about digital products okay, not a physical one. Sometimes physical products, or usually they have some kind of a graphic design which is involved in them, but we are talking about digital products which you are using on the screen. Okay, it could be a desktop screen, a computer screen, or a mobile screen that you are using on your mobile device or tablet or any other screen. Basically, if you think about it, even a smart refrigerator, for example, it has a screen that the user is interacting with it. So that needs UX UI. So each product that has any interaction with the user needs UX UI. So we're talking about system services, and to provide, of course, the best possible user experience. This includes designing for usability, accessibility, and overall enjoyment of the product. Means that people love to use sorry, people love to use products that they enjoy to use. Okay, and that is something which is very important to understand as well. And the goal is to create products that are easy to use, visually appealing, as I said, also, and fun to use, and consistent across different platform and devices. That means that today, a lot of products that you're meeting in the market, basically most of the leading products, if we call it like that, leader services and products that you're familiar with, as the one I'm going to show in a minute. For example, Airbnb. So you have a website, you have a mobile view, meaning a mobile view is a website that you see on your mobile browser, and they have also a mobile application. So that's actually kind of like responsive design. Responsive design meaning is that we have to take a website and make it suitable to be viewed in different devices. And there are also dedicated applications for devices that we also need to take under consideration. Now, basically, UX is talks about more what should be on a screen and doesn't involve at this stage the work of how exactly will it look. So what needs to be on the screen, what needs to be on entire screens, and what will be the functionality that the user will use them and will achieve the goal that he came to use that product for. Okay, and the UI, of course, talks about the right or designing the interface as it should be when the user actually uses them. So let me just go ahead here. I'm going to open Airbnb. So me as a UX UI designer, I'm looking at the screen and I see a lot of things that probably when you're looking at it as a usual user, maybe these are things that you don't actually put attention to all of them because you are not looking at the screen at that way that a UX UI designer is actually looking at it. So I'm looking how will they actually uh, present all the content that they need in each content place right here. For example, they have an image. I see the icon. When I put my mouse on this image, I see the hover, that arrow that gives me, it's a hover effect. Hover, it means that when you put your mouse on something, so you have some kind of a feedback and indication on the screen that you can do something with it. And when you click on it, so then you see another arrow that is pointing here because you can now do it left and right. You see those pagination, these circles that show you actually which image you are on at right now. The typographical hierarchy, meaning that this is in bold because this is the main information that you need to see, and you see the rating, and you see also other information, which right now is the address, but it doesn't matter very much. And you see the price. Okay, so that is something which you already learn a lot from looking at this particular screen element, which is quite a lot already. Here you see all the hover actions. I mean, you put your mouse on it and you see how it makes this icon a bit more clear, and you see the line underneath it that gives you the actually the feedback that you can click on it. Here, you can know that you can click on this arrow, and when you click on it, you see the way that it animates on the screen, and you see this arrow, which can take you back to the beginning. You have the filters that when you click on them, you see that Airbnb made it as a pop-up, a light box actually, which focus your eyes on the screen, and they have a long scroll which gives you different kind of filters. And you see also the structure of the filter, how exactly they designed it, how the users actually interact with it, what happens when I click on one, how does it get selected. So there's a lot of things that happening here on the screen, and you can learn a lot from them. So this is how a UX UI designer actually looks at the screen. And you see also all this component of the search, what happens when I click on it. I can also click on this floating action button, which I can click on it and gives me a map view. And I can quickly click on it and switch back to the list view. So there's a list view and there is a map view, already interesting to itself. I'm clicking here and I can see all the way that this top bar behaves with all the options that I'm getting here. Once I selected something, it passes me already to select the date. And there's a full process here of how do you actually bring the user to the actions, to what he needs to achieve or what he wants to achieve using this specific platform. So there's a lot of things that you can learn here. You can learn from this platform, and you can also switch to the mobile view and actually see how does all that behaves on mobile. So on mobile, you have the map view and you have the list view, which you can actually drag this card and put it all the way to the top, and then it gets back to the list view. Beautiful. And now you can have the horizontal scroll, which you can scroll these icons here, which is actually categories, tabs. You can just click on each one of them. By the way, in mobile, it's called tap. You tap on one of them because you're supposed to do it with your finger. And now all this element, which behaved in the desktop a bit different, how it was adjusted to a mobile view. So as you see, there's a lot of things that you can learn here only from looking at a successful service online. And this is how a UX UI designer actually looks at the screen. Things that you need to take under consideration. You tap on it and then you tap on it again, and then you can just click and write something. On a real mobile device, you will have to take under consideration that when you tap on it, the keyboard goes up to almost half of the screen. And then if you have more things that you need to do here, more actions, then you have to take it under consideration. And it goes on and on. So this is how actually a UX UI designer looks at the screens, and there's a lot of things that you can learn from it. And of course, take some functionalities and behaviors to new products that he will be designing. So that is, now you see how much you can actually learn from looking at the screen. So a lot actually. And continuing with our presentation here, so skills that you will need in this industry, well, you have kind of like hard skills, meaning information architecture sounds a bit scary, but there's nothing to be scared of. What it means is how do you actually take information that was entered into a database, for example, and bring it in a good way, present it on a screen. For example, if I'll go for 1 minute to Airbnb, so if I go back to what you see here, actually to each element here, you see that in the database, there is an image, there is this information here, which actually gives the name of the place, it gives the rating of it, it gives the distance, and it gives the price of it. And all this information actually in the database is just tables which are holding this information that you take it and present it on the screen. You don't have to know technically how to do that. I mean, work with the database, but that's how it's kind of like structured behind the scenes. And you just need to understand which type of information you actually need to present on the screen. So that's kind of like, in a nutshell, an information architecture. There's also wireframing and prototyping, meaning that you decide what needs to be on the screen or according to a certain brief that you took, and you are being guided to what needs to be wireframed. There's wireframing and there is the actual design of it. The wireframing stage, as I explained before, is the UX stage, which you actually decide what needs to be on the screen and what will be the functionality of it. And you can also, of course, prototype it. We can use the main tool that we are using today will be Figma. Basically, this is the leading tool in the market, which can also prototype a product, meaning you can just tap or click on a button and it takes you to a different screen and you can see how the UI elements animate in there and so you can actually prototype and make it very understandable visually and to feel how the product behaves when the user actually uses it. So that's pretty cool. And the visual communication, basically, it means that how will you actually, how will the UI of the product, the user interface, UX is user experience, which actually kind of like takes all in, but the UI is more of the user interface, meaning how visually will the screen communicate with the user. So these are kind of like the main skills that you will be learning and needing. And we have kind of like soft skills, which is empathy, meaning understanding the product. Here is kind of like an illustration of one guy shaking the hand of another guy, but basically it's more of like understanding the user needs and understanding what the product actually needs to give him. But this is part of like a whole part of the UX. Communication, you will always need good communication with the people you work with the team, and you need to actually communicate your designs and present them and know how to explain them, which this is something which is being kind of like, let's say, inhaled during time. And of course, collaboration, you're collaborating with teammates or with other people that you are working with. So these are skills that are being developed during time, but of course, being a communicative person helps a lot, and that is great and very much needed. The tools you'll be working with. So basically, Figma is the main tool, and I will repeat that again. Figma is the main tool that we are working with. XD, Adobe XD, still stays in the market, I guess, at least for now. It's another good tool that you will be going over during our course as well. So the most of the course will be on Figma, and XD will be kind of like an additional platform which is still being used, and in a lot of companies which are still using Adobe XD. So will give you, of course, the knowledge of how to use Adobe XD as well. UX Spin is kind of a side product, which is you can maybe bump into it here and there. It's not being used that widely, but you could see it maybe in your travels of online platforms and products, but we will not dealing with all these other products in the market, but we are explaining them because you will, I guess that you will see them maybe if you're like interested, of course, in joining the course, which I hope so. So you will be seeing these names kind of like running around just to understand quickly. InVision, it's kind of an old tool that is not being used so much already right now, kind of like less and less, if at all. Sketch used to be the leading product of UXUI, meaning just to explain a leading product in a niche. So I guess that part of you or all of you are familiar with the software which is called Photoshop, which is by Adobe. Photoshop is the leading software in photo editing, I guess, for something around 25 or 30 years even. And actually it dominates the niche. Well, at least according to today, it dominates the niche of the photo editing. By the way, is everyone can see me and hear me? It's just I want to know that I'm not talking to myself. Yeah.
I can hear you, Yarav. Just
Okay,
give
yeah,
me
I'm
some.
just making sure because I don't see the rest of the screen, so I'm just making sure that I'm not just sitting and talking to myself, which could be funny.
No, you're audible.
Okay, okay, great. And so, as I said, Sketch used to be dominative a few years ago, and in time when Figma came, actually, so it pushed all the other tools aside, and Figma is the main tools and platform. I think that nowadays it dominates, I can say, surely more than 90% of the market. Okay. So it's really all the way in, if I can say it like that. Marvel is another kind of online platform which is being used here and there. I'm guessing to myself, I don't have the exact statistics, but for sure not that much. And Protopie is actually more for animating, but have been used more with Sketch because there were not so much prototyping, if at all, in Sketch. So that was kind of like connected to each other. What these both can do, Figma does by itself. So this is about the tools. So as I said, in the course, Figma mainly, and also learning XD. And basically, these are the most dedicated UX UI softwares that are in the market right now and that we will be using during the course. Here is where Shagun comes into the picture, and she will take it from here more about specifically the market. Yes, Shagun,
Right.
please.
Yeah, so I must say, Yarav, the Airbnb demonstration that you showed us was so interesting. I didn't even know that
Good.
we could view the phone screen. How it would be, how it looked like on a phone from my laptop. So that was really fascinating, and I didn't know that happens actually. So there's that.
Yep.
But yes, continuing. So it's still a growing field. I'd say it's a booming field in India right now. This UI UX industry, and there are so many. Legacy companies, startups. Almost, I think most companies in India right now, they're looking for UI UX designers that operate online because you really need that expertise in your online presence. So we have on Internshala itself, we have listings for these profiles from these companies. There is Reliance Industries, Byju's, Ghana, Archie's. So there are so many top industry players that themselves are looking for people in this industry simply because of the expertise they offer, the skills that they offer, and that truly provides them an edge over their competitors. So that really shows you just how much in demand the skill in particular is. I think we can move on to the next slide, Yara.
Yeah, please.
So this is an industry overview. We're just trying to show you here, what exactly is the scope and of this industry globally as well as in India. So as of January 2020, there were 1.74 billion websites in existence. Now that's a huge number. And this is back in 2020 when there was no lockdown, when the world didn't shift online. So we can only imagine that number now. And with that demand, with how many people are using their phones, their laptops, everybody has a PC at this point. So you can only imagine that demand for UI UX designers that has been created. Then the estimated size of the global user experience market was 465 million US dollars in 2021, and that's a very recent number, you could say. And this is forecasted to grow at 1,346 US million dollars, sorry, million USDs, which is such a huge number, and it really paints a picture of you for you to show you like the exact demand, the job availability that will be impacted, the salary trends that will be impacted just because of this number. An interesting point here is that there's a number here that 289% increase in requests for UX interviews has been witnessed, in the last few years, and that is such an insane number. So you could really see that in the last, especially after lockdown has begun, there has been a boom in demand for UX UI designers and other professionals in this field, and that really lets you understand the giant scope this industry has. So that's about it. I think we can move on to
I
the next.
will also, okay, I will also add that, well, let me put it like that. If I remember the market like 10 years ago, UX UI designer, it was kind of like nice to have. I mean, maybe companies didn't I mean, a lot of companies, maybe not the top ones, they didn't see it. Maybe like a designer is nice to have and it's good, but we need only the programmers basically or mainly.
Right.
But in a few years, the market has changed totally. Okay, and now
Absolutely.
each product understands that without the good UX UI, it's like building a building, and if the foundation of the building is not good, then everything falls apart. Okay, a UX UI designer is in a very high demand, and everyone understands that the very base of the product and the good start of the product should be in a good UX and UI, and from there it all goes forward. Yeah, okay. Yeah, please. So we're going to the next slide, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think the lockdown has had a huge impact on this industry as well because companies are moving
exactly.
online, right? So you need that sort of expertise to connect with your users and customers. Right. So here we'll be talking about a few roles that are available in this industry. Now, this does not cover all the roles, but most of them. So, you could be a product designer, a product manager, UX researcher, manager, UX designer, UI designer, UX writer, and interaction designer. And these are all really different fields. And I think Yariv will be able to, lay down a better distinction between a
Yeah.
lot of these roles. Right.
Exactly. So basically, a UX UI designer is a product designer because you take a product and do the UX of it and the UI of it. Basically, that is the work of a product designer. I mean, UX UI designer is actually a product designer. Well, some would define it maybe a bit different. There are kind of like sometimes argues if it's exactly the same. But yeah, I'm saying it's basically exactly the same. So it's a product designer, meaning knowing how to take a process from A to Z, basically. A UX researcher, I mean, these are different roles that you will see in the market, in the industry. We are focusing here, of course, on product designing and UX UI. Okay, but basically, you will see also a UX researcher, which does the, let's say, the research before even beginning to UX and UI the product. So he checks all the background, see exactly what is in the market, what type of users you will actually approach, what makes them maybe a bit different from other types of users, and what needs to be more precise in the product actually to communicate with them in a good way. So this is a UX researcher does. UX designer is someone who actually does or focuses only on the wireframing and the functionality of the product and less of the UI of it. I mean, less of doing also the user interface itself, meaning the design of it. So this is a UX designer, which is a very important role, but again, he doesn't go to the UI design of it. The UX writer is actually after, sometimes after UX researching, or even maybe even before it or after it. UX writing is meaning just describing in writing all the points that the product needs to have, the screens, the functionality, and so on. This is kind of like putting it in writing and doing kind of like a documentation and more of a technical writing of what needs to be on the screen before the UX designer even takes it to the screen. Okay, so that happens before that. The product manager, as UX UI designers, you will have a lot of interaction with the product manager. The product manager is the one who actually manages the all the process of developing a product. It could be a product before going live, and of course it could be a product which is already live and starting to get feedbacks from users, understanding better needs of users, what we need to improve, what we need to actually add to the product to be better, and so on. So, and he actually kind of like manages all the work around the product and the needs so that the programmers actually are doing whatever they need to do, that the UX UI designers are doing whatever they need to do, and that they are briefed on exactly what needs to be happening and what they actually need to work on. The UX manager basically is kind of also kind of a product manager. They do kind of more or less the same, but The UX manager has more of a UX view of the product. By the way, also I can say that product managers usually they have that as well, kind of like more of a UX and functional overview on the product. A UI designers in a lot of companies you will also meet, and in some companies uh, there is a UX designer and there is a UI designer. Sometimes the UX designer does his part, and after that, it goes to the UI designer, which adds the UI on it. So, in some companies, these roles are separate. We have the UX and the UI in separate roles. And in a lot of companies, a product designer, which is actually a UX UI designer, does the job together, meaning he's on the UX and the UI. Basically, that's what I do. Interaction designer, so that is more of how the motion happens in the right way on the screen. And it's part of, let's say, prototyping as well, but it goes more deep into the exact interactions that all our product need to have. Interaction as hover, interactions and animations, micro animations, how the screens behave actually more in mobile. I would say that when you tap on a button or an icon and something opens on the screen, maybe we have an interaction that we tap on a button and then it takes us to a new screen. How exactly does it happen? What will be the speed of the animation or the interaction? What the user, which visual feedback animation wise will the user get when he clicks or taps on a button or an icon or in a menu icon that it opens a menu? How exactly all these things actually happen on the screen? So this is the interaction designer. Okay, so after he understands the functionality and the UI of it and what happens, what needs to happen on the screen. So he takes that UI element and he makes it animate as the way it should be, and he designs the interaction of the user with that specific element. By the way, I'm doing that also a lot as a product or as a senior product designer. I'm also doing a lot of interaction design as well. So again, in time, step by step, you go into more and more things and you acquire more and more skills when you grow into the industry. Okay. Um, so that about the job roles that you can meet there and the industry scope. Shagun, if you want to take the lead here on this slide.
Right. I think it's really self-explanatory. As I think there was also a question regarding this. What is the scope in India? So I think the salary trends is a really good measure for that, as you can really clearly see that a UI designer, who's in the maybe a starting of their career, the beginning of their career, they earn easily somewhere around 7 to 10 LPA, which is a really amazing package, I'd say, for a person who's just starting in their career. Similarly, for a UX designer, that number goes up to 8 to 10 LPA, that's lakhs per year, lakhs per annum. And that's again such a I'd say a better than average number as compared to what is often offered in other profiles. Then a product designer on average earns anywhere between 10 to 12 LPA, and a UX researcher can earn anywhere between 16 to 18 LPA, which is an impressive package as compared to so many other competitive profiles in other industries. So I think this is a really good measure for us to understand that as the demand for this profile or for this profession is increasing, it's being really well compensated as well, and it's not a profession where you feel exploited or you feel like you aren't earning enough or anything like that. If you have a skill set and if you have that sort of expertise, even as a fresher, you will be well set. So that's the industry scope in terms of salary trends in India. You can move on to the next slide, Yariv.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So,
So
yeah, you want to
this
take the lead here? Yeah, please go ahead,
I'll
Shagun.
actually, I'd love to do this in a, an interview sort of format with you. I think that'll be really interesting. So I just wanted to ask you, there's a lot of misconception regarding this industry since it's so new and, it's a booming one. So do you think that this is true or false, that we need to be an extremely skilled artist to be good at UI, UX designs and related professions?
Not at all. I'm saying that it's not bad to be a good skilled artist. It's always good. But the UX UI is not exactly doing art, meaning that that is more of uh, being able to make the right decisions of what needs to be on a screen when a user uses it and how to design it. But again, you don't have to be an artist. You need to have a good understanding of a screen. So that's something which is completely different. And one thing in a way doesn't have to do with the other, meaning an artist, you can ask him to do this illustration that you see on the screen, for example, which is good if you have that skill, is great, but you really don't need to and you don't have to. So a UX UI, I would say, could be learned from scratch, and during kind of like not a lot of time you can become very good at it. So this is my answer to that completely.
Right. Okay, then there's another misconception that AI will replace UI UX, and the designers. And I think it's really
Yeah.
funny because, especially since last year, I've seen, so much popularity around UI UX. Everyone's talking about Chat GPT. Everyone's talking about AI. So, do you think that this industry, that AI poses as a threat to UI UX designers?
Well, I've been hearing that question a bit more and more, I would say, because in the last few months, mainly a lot of AI platforms, not only ChatGPT, which this is maybe
Yes.
the most familiar one, but AI for doing images, AI for doing presentations, AI for doing this, and AI for doing that. I would say that with the AI working side by side, maybe it can improve some of the things that we are doing. Maybe, could be, I don't know yet. But for sure, it will not replace the human thinking and the way that you can actually connect actions in your mind. And this is what UX/UI designer does. So as far as I'm seeing it right now, it can give you maybe some good advices as you go, but it definitely cannot replace the way that a UX UI designer think and does whatever he needs to be doing on the screen. So that is totally untrue. Well, at least as far as I can see it right now. And I believe that in the next at least 2 to 3 decades, I don't really see that happening. So that is what I have to say about all the AI. The AI will help us in some things that we have to do, maybe to do them a bit better, but it can definitely cannot replace the UX UI designers. That's what I have to say about that specifically.
Yeah, I agree. AI can really optimize things, but it really cannot mimic that, that human connection and that human understanding of another person.
Of
So that's
course.
absolutely true. Yeah, I think we can move on to the
Okay.
next. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one is that knowing how to code is mandatory for UI UX designer, and you need to be really good at it as well. That's something that even
Th-
I have this misconception or this belief that I need to be, proficient in this particular, domain to be able to practice UI UX design. So is that true?
It's not true at all. It's good to understand how a programmer, a developer, actually builds whatever he is building on the screen, but just to understand basically what is the structure of it and how does it work. But of course, you don't need to code at all. We are not dealing with code in UX UI. We are doing in the stage of ideation, conducting whatever needs to be on the screen and designing it. And the code that is done by the developers. That's why they are called developers. And we are not the ones who have to do that at all. I'm saying it's good to understand how screen actually is built code wise, but of course we don't have to do that, not at all. Okay,
All right.
I will go to the next one. By the way, UX
Oh,
UI are the same. So again, of course, it's not the same as I've explained in the previous slides. These are two different stages, and as you saw, or you will see also that in some companies, the UX designer role and then UI designer role is actually separated. There are two different roles that already should tell you that it's not exactly the same. Because if they were the same, There were no point to, in some companies, to actually divide them to two different roles. So as I've explained, UX is actually deciding what needs to be in the screen and what will be the functionality of it, and the UI is actually designing it. So it's two different things. When I'm saying what needs to be on the screen, just for example, in UX, in wireframing, an image can just be a rectangle, okay, just a gray rectangle, for example, which it doesn't matter right now which image is actually going to be placed there, but we understand that this part of the page needs to have an image. This is meaning understanding more in the functionality of the screen, what actually needs to be there, which screen elements are going to serve the user in what he's trying to do on the product, with the product, more right to say. So this is about this misconception. Shagun,
Right.
please.
Yeah, people often use them synonymously, but like you said, they are separate. They're interdependent, but they're still separate profiles. Right.
Yes.
Okay. So another misconception is that UI UX is the same as graphic design or product management. So is that true or
So
not?
of course, it's not true. A graphic design is more goes for branding and more of creating graphic elements. For example, these illustrations are graphic design in a way. When you see a logo, it's a graphic design. When you see a design of a package of some product, when you buy it in the supermarket or anywhere else, that is graphic design. Okay, so again, they could be combined. I mean, it's good, it's not bad at all to be a UX UI designer which also knows graphic design, because basically it's also kind of a design. But of course, that you don't have to be a graphic designer in order to be a UX UI designers, and these roles are two separate roles totally. So so this is about graphic design and UX UI design. And about product management, as I was explained before, so sometimes product managers were also in the UX. Basically, it happens sometimes, or even quite often, but it's not a must, of course, and it's two different roles. So the UX UI designer does the UX UI work that he needs to do to UX the product and to UI it. And the product manager is the one who is above it and actually is conducting all the work that needs to be done on the product. But in general, he's not the one who's doing the UX and the UI himself. Okay, so this is so you have here in this rectangle, you have three different roles actually.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I hope that clears up a lot of confusion, that students and people who are really fascinated with industry have. So I think we can move on to the next slide.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So with this, we come to the end of the first section of this presentation. And now, if you've stayed as long as you have in this webinar, and if you think that UI UX industry is something that you want to experiment in, that you want to, make a profession in, make a career in, then Internshala offers you an amazing opportunity. We have a UI UX design course, which is a placement guarantee course. That means that we'll be offering you a guaranteed internship after the completion of this course. The duration will be 6 months. So I also saw a lot of questions regarding this, that does Internshala offer these courses? So yes, we do. The faculty for this course is actually Mr. Yariv himself. So if you liked interacting with him, if you loved his presentations and his explanations as much as we did, you really should give this course a shot, and you will understand from his own experience and learnings. And it'll be a really great learning experience for all of you. Now, coming on to what you'll be getting with the course, you'll be learning a lot of skills in terms of Figma, prototyping, UX research, responsive design, wireframing, and information architecture. And these are all skills that we've already listed in the webinar, in previous slides. So everything that you really need for this industry is what we'll be offering you in the course. We can move on to the next slide, Yara. Now, this course comes with a lot of features, more than just the skills. You'll be having live classes and recorded lectures. You'll be doing assignments and making industry ready and industry compatible projects. You'll be learning a lot of skills. You'll have lifetime access to all of these courses because they'll be downloadable content. You'll have 24/7 support. You'll have certification by the end of this course, which will be an industry recognized certificate. And you'll also have live doubt clearing sessions. So if you're a curious learner, if you have questions, you'll always be able to clear them up with our course instructors and experts. So with this, we come to an end for the webinar, and now we'll be taking up questions that you've all asked us in the comment section. So Yariv, I'll drop these questions to you, and we
Yeah.
can then move on. Okay. So
Where can I see them, by the way? Oh,
no,
you will ask me them?
yeah, I'll ask those
Yeah, good.
questions. Right. So
Okay.
there's a very basic question: what is UI UX?
1 second. Should I maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, good.
no, we're clear.
Yeah,
We're
sure.
ready.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
So Pooja Jain has asked, what is UI UX? So we'll just touch that up again.
Yeah. Okay. So again, as I explained, so UI UX is actually it's a role which is two roles together. It's being you're actually in this UX as a UX UI designer. You are wearing two hats. You are the UX designer, which actually decides what needs to be on the screen and what will be the functionality of it. And then you are actually also designing the wireframing or the, let's say, the uh, primary schemes of the product, of deciding what actually needs to be in the screen. Then you take it and you design it, and then you have the UX and the UI of a final product, of course, design wise. After that it goes to the developer and then the developers, and then they take it from there. So I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Right. So there's another question by Ria Swen. She says that out of all the job roles listed on the screen, is which one is the most likely to be tailor made for a fresher? So, a person who is in the early stages of their career, out of all the job roles that we mentioned, which one do you think is best suited for them?
I think that the best answer to it is what interests you the most. I mean, we're talking either UX UI, you're talking either only UI or only UX. Product management actually is for, I think, a far stage. I mean, this is already like when you become more experienced and more in the industry. I think it's too soon to start by going after product management. You can learn that, by the way, but I think that it's too soon, or you need to be a bit experienced in the industry. That will give you much more ability to handle that correctly. And I think that you need to decide if you want to have. Oh, sorry, 1 second. I just need to put my computer into the electricity. I forgot to do that. Yeah, and I see
That's
suddenly
all
the
right.
screen gets dark. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, that's all
Okay,
right.
so that's okay. So I'm just saying that you can either go for UX UI, which I recommend if both are interesting for you, the UX and the UI. If you want to deal only with the design part or the actually the visuality of the screen, so that could be only UI. Or if you want, if that doesn't interest you and you want actually to deal only with the what needs to be in the screen and the functionality of it, so you can go only with UX. So that is more like what do you think that is more suitable for you. And again, this is as long as you are interested in UX UI, because being a UX researcher, that's something else. It's a different role. So I'm saying from that list, again, if that designing stuff on the screen, if I will call just generally like that, then I think that UX UI will be great for you. I hope that answers your question.
Right. Another person has asked, does motion designing play an important role in UI UX design?
It does. It's very important. But what is, let's put it, let's say, let's prioritize it. First, it needs to be the UX, which is most important as what needs to be on the screen and the functionality of it. The second one is the UI, and the third one is the motion and interaction design, which again, I mean, if I look at it as looking at the big picture, everything is important. Okay, all of it actually becomes even the microcopy, what will be written on the buttons, on the text that will explain the user what is he going to do with the product or how to use it and so on. So basically, these are parts of the puzzle that complete it to a whole product. Okay, but prioritizing it, so I think that motion and interaction are on the third place, but they are definitely important. I mean, don't get me wrong, they are very important, but it has kind of like a priority. I mean, if you have nice motion and animations and interactions on the screen, but actually the UX of the product is not good, you didn't achieve anything with it. So we need to do it in the right order, but basically all of that builds a good product, all of it together.
All right. So, Arpit Shukla wants to know the difference between a UI UX versus a software engineer, a UI
Mm.
UX designer, or a software engineer.
Okay, so the word engineer is a bit tricky. Why? Because sometimes in the industry, engineer refers to the developer, meaning the one who writes the code. And sometimes engineer, you can also say the one who, let's say, builds UX, UI wise the product. So I don't know exactly to which one it's referring. If the software engineer means the one who codes also the product, or not also the one who's actually what developing the product code wise. So so actually, it's two completely different roles. I mean, UX UI is deciding how, let's say, this software will look and what service will it do to the user of it, and the software engineer is the one who's going to develop it code wise. So the roles are two different ones. So it's like asking, what do you like more, ice cream or shish kebab? So it's two different things. I mean, they have kind of like a, I mean, at the end of the day, yes, they are combined into one product which is working, but the roles are very different from each other.
Right.
So this is what I think about the, I mean, of course it's a great question, but that's what I think that is the best way to answer it.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Another question is whether it is enough for a person to learn Figma tool alone, or do they need to become proficient in other, applications and tools? Because a lot of times in job listings, there are tools other than Figma as well. So, what do you think? Or, how do I
I know that
prioritize these tools?
this world, the UX UI, let's say, dedicated platforms, this world has changed a lot, especially, I would say, in the last, I guess, 3 years, something around that. So the 3 or 4, I guess 3 or 4 years, the XD and there was Sketch XD. It became in also very strongly, and then Figma came, and then everything became much more dedicated to UX UI. So Figma, I mean, my day starts with Figma and ends with Figma. That's it. I mean, I'm falling on asleep on my keyboard at 2 a.m. basically on Figma. So that's what happens basically every day, I mean, most likely. But I'm saying that I would say that 98% of my day is in Figma. Of course, that a designer, it's not bad to know also other platforms or softwares as other designers, let's say Photoshop, Illustrator, which you can also kind of like try to jump in and learn part of it yourself and so on. So a designer usually uses one main tool. Usually, for example, let me give you the difference in the UX/UI world right now. Figma is the dominative platform, but if you are a graphic designer, for example, most likely you will use more or much more Photoshop and Illustrator. So that depends also, meaning different role could be different tools that you are using in order to achieve whatever you need to be doing. So, and Figma, by the way, is also entering other niches of design. I would safely say that. But in the UX/UI, Figma is the main tool that you will be working on. And other tools can be also acquired. I know that a lot of companies, they kind of like they publish roles as junior designers and design. They said sometimes they just say a lot of things, and honestly, they don't always know exactly what do they actually need. So they say UX UI design, you need to know HTML, Sketch, InVision, tatitatam. They say so many things, and if you really kind of like, okay, at the end of the day, what do I really need? Figma. That's it. Basically, it ends up there. So I'm just saying that again. If I'll sum it up in let's say two sentences, Figma is the main tool that you will be working on. Photoshop and Illustrator, it's not bad to know. I mean, it's good, but as a UX UI designer, probably you will not deal with them a lot on daily basis. So that is my perfect answer to that.
All
Okay.
right. Yeah. All right. Okay. So there's another question: is learning HTML or CSS knowledge a must in UI UX? So I think we've
No. So
addressed that, right?
yeah, I said that already. As I said, it's very good to be familiar with it, meaning just to understand how a web page or an application is actually structured, because it helps us sometimes as designers, maybe not to design things that maybe are not doable on the screen. Okay, so that also when you're interacting in a team with developers and people that you also work with, so you get familiar with that quite quickly, I guess. But you don't really need to know how to code or how to do HTML, CSS. So it's not a must. Uh, Again, not bad to know, just to understand it in general.
Right. Okay, we'll pick up the last few questions. Mayur has asked, can I become a UX designer just through self studies, or can that's just available, on the internet, or do I need to study it and complete a course for this?
I'll say that there's a lot of stuff that you can learn by yourself nowadays because there are a lot of tutorials and webinars and so on. But I think that when at the end of the day, you need to learn it in a, let's say, in an organized way that will just make it much more precise and better. And when you get feedback on the works that you are doing from experienced someone, me or someone else, then also you understand actually where do you stand. Did what you do is actually good? What do you need to improve? You get much more productive and precise feedbacks that help you, let's say, improve the way that you are doing the work that you are doing. And also we have the live sessions, which will also clear doubts, doubt clearing sessions that you can freely ask questions there and be fully answered. And I think that one of the mistakes that I did when I was very young, when I thought that I could be a Superman and do it on myself, I mean, I did some of it myself, but one thing that I didn't understand then is that when you start working or learning in a more organized way and working in a company with a team, so getting feedback all the time on your work and collaborating with other people in the industry makes you understand a lot of stuff much faster. Okay, I mean, yes, you can learn and it will take you just much longer and you will have much more falls in the way. Yes, you can, but basically, I think that it's not focused enough and it's not precise enough. Okay, because just knowing how to draw some stuff in Figma and to make it animate a bit on the screen doesn't make you a good UX UI designer. So there's a lot of stuff to learn there in between. So that's my answer to that, I guess.
Right. All right. Amod has asked that does Internshala UI UX course offer guaranteed internship? And yes, Amod, it does. So if you are enrolled in the course, if you complete it, and if you pass all of your assignments and exams, you will be eligible for a guaranteed internship. There's one last question, and there's a lot of questions about projects, right? So as a student or as a person who's just entered the industry, what kind of projects can they, create for their portfolio or just for themselves? Like, how do they do this?
So that's why we have the course. first of all. That's starting with there is a good starting point.
Yeah.
And of course that some of the or the projects that you will do in the course will actually go into your portfolio. And of course you will be more let's say focused after the course, so Internshala helps to focus as well on that, as far as I understand. But basically what the main thing is to have the works that you can actually put in your portfolio. So we will go that also during the course, or like at the end of the course, I highlight some points on it. But I guess as I said, I mean, the main thing is to have the works, because if you don't have the works, then there is no portfolio. So
Yeah.
so I'm going over that as well, and that will be answered better in the course, I guess.
All right. Okay. So that was a really enlightening webinar, I must say. And the way that you truly, went into detail, in terms of so many aspects of this industry was so fascinating to me. And like I said, that I love the Airbnb demonstration too. So
Great.
with this, we come to the end of the webinar for today. To all the students in the comment boxes were asking about details on the course and everything, you can head over to the website. I'll link down the page as well so that you can refer to it. And you
Okay.
can find all the course related information if you click on this link. With this, we come to the end of the webinar. Thank you so much, Yariv, for this. It was a really interesting session. And thank you to all the people who attended. We're really glad you spent an hour with us. And for any questions that weren't answered or addressed, you can always ask us on our social media posts or reach out to us as well. So I think that's a good
Thank you,
place for us
sir.
to
Thank you so much, Shagun, and thanks
wrap. You're welcome.
everyone. I'm really happy that you came to the webinar, and I will hope to see all of you in the course. I will be happy.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so much,
much.
everyone. Good evening. And thank you for all the audience. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Good night.
Good night.